4 AI models, same task, build a 3D world from scratch. The one labeled GLM 5.2 is the new entry, and this week it became the highest scoring open weights model on independent benchmarks. GLM 5.2 is a text model from Z.ai, the Chinese AI lab formerly called Zhipu. It has 744 billion total parameters, but only about 40 billion are active on any given token. That is the mixture of experts trick. The weights are MIT licensed and downloadable on Huggingface now. On Z.ai's own coding benchmarks, GLM 5.2 scores 62.1 on SWE Bench Pro, 81 on Terminal Bench, and 74.4 on Frontier SWE. That puts it in the same conversation as closed models like Claude Opus and GPT 5.5 on coding and tool use tasks. The independent check comes from Artificialanalysis. Their intelligence index now ranks GLM 5.2 first among open weights models with a score of 51. It sits above DeepSeek V4 Pro, Minimax M3, and Kimi K2.6, the models that held the open weights lead until this week. The target use case is not casual chat. Z.ai aimed this model at long-running coding agents, systems that read a repository, plan across dozens of files, run tests, hit errors, and keep working. That is why the headline feature is a 1 million token context window. Here is the shape of that workflow. A developer points GLM 5.2 at a coding task. The agent reads the requirements, writes code, reviews its own result, and produces a working sorting visualizer in the browser. Under the hood, GLM 5.2 uses IndexShare to make very long context cheaper to serve. It shares attention indexes across layers, so throughput does not collapse as the input grows toward 1 million tokens. It also uses multi-token prediction, which lets the model draft several future tokens at once and accept more of them during inference. Now the catch. GLM 5.2 gets these results by thinking a lot. On artificial analysis tasks, it averaged about 43,000 output tokens per problem. Roughly 37,000 of those were reasoning tokens. That is far more than most competing models use on the same tasks. So when you hear that GLM 5.2 costs around 1/6 as much as Opus, be careful. That is a per-token comparison. Per task, the gap can shrink because this model may use many more tokens to reach the answer. Cheaper ingredients, bigger portions. And open weights does not mean laptop friendly. 744 billion parameters, even in reduced precision, still means hundreds of gigabytes of model weights. Running it yourself is GPU cluster territory. The cloud option is already live. Cloudflare, Together AI, and Friendli AI all moved quickly to host GLM 5.2. One important detail. Cloudflare currently exposes 262,000 tokens of context, not the full million. The version you get depends on who is serving it. Z.ai also ships a coding agent interface called ZCode. It gives free daily token access to GLM 5.2, which makes it the fastest way to try this long horizon workflow without renting a serious GPU setup yourself. A year ago, the strongest open weights models were mostly useful for smaller tasks, local experiments, and fine-tuning. Now, an MIT-licensed model is landing within a few points of the most expensive closed models on some of the hardest coding benchmarks. GLM 5.2 closes the gap further, as long as you can feed it enough hardware and enough tokens to do the work.